Have you ever read Lord of the Flies? Well, if you enjoyed that, then you might also enjoy the new trilogy by Emmy Laybourne, Monument 14. Laybourne herself used to work as an improv comic and an actress, appearing in such movies as The In-Laws and Superstar. After her kids were born, she wanted to go back to her roots in writing and sat down to write what would eventually become Monument 14. Although the original title she played with was We Are Value Mart. She went on to write 2 more Monument 14 books and is releasing another book called Sweet about a luxury cruise gone wrong, slated for release in June 2016. The first book's plot is rather similar to Lord of the Flies, though it reads differently. Published in 2012, the story is about a bus full of 14 kids living in Monument, Colorado, ages ranging from 5 to 18, who get caught in a terrible hailstorm on the way to school one day. Like, hail so bad it's denting the roof of the bus. Their driver manages to save them by driving inside of a superstore. After she leaves to go get help, the store's security system activates and seals the kids inside. 14 kids, with no adult supervision, have to learn to work together to survive as the world goes to hell outside. But the hailstorm was nothing compared to everything else the rest of the country was hit with, which culminates in a NORAD chemical lab spilling out to the Four Corners area. The first book follows Dean, a high school junior trapped with his younger brother, the girl he has a crush on, her boyfriend, and many others. The cast of characters is diverse and realistic. From the bratty Chloe to the jock and bully Brayden, everyone has something different and unique to contribute. When writing, it's difficult to not only distinguish 14 different characters, but also make them realistic. But through the length of the first book, Laybourne manages to do just that. A stylistic choice that I enjoyed was that even though he was the protagonist, Dean never stood up to be the leader. He had his uses, certainly, but he didn't have the right personality to stand up and be an example for everyone else to follow, which only helps the book become more lifelike. Of the 6 little children, though, Max had to be my favorite. He goes into these stories about his parents that are actually about shocking debauchery that he's completely ignorant to. His stories are very amusing and are always a joy to behold, if only because of how dark they are and how innocently he tells them. The book is written in a first-person perspective. It's a young adult book and makes for an easy read. The writing can be a bit sophomoric at times, along with some odd word choice. One passage from the first chapter reads, Nico half dragged me through the hail, down the aisle that was not an aisle but was actually the space above the seat, because remember, the bus was on its side. Keep in mind, this information was repeated just moments after the bus crashed onto its side from the hail. These moments aren't frequent, fortunately, and I found that they were ignored easily enough. The setting, the characters, and the details the book goes into make for a very realistic story, at least in context. I do believe that a group of kids like this really could act the way they do locked in a superstore during the end of the world. It just makes the characters easier to relate to and makes you care all the more for their safety. The writing style is quick and to the point, and their world is similar enough to ours that it doesn't require much setup. The pacing speeds along from one disaster to another, slowing down every now and then to let you catch your breath. The kids have just about everything they need to last several months inside the store, and they'll need every bit of it to outlast not only the natural disasters outside, but the crazed survivors trying to break in. The conflict then becomes not killing each other, as well as coping with the new threats as soon as they appear. And there are a multitude of problems to deal with. Almost every chapter ends in a cliffhanger, demanding your attention on the next page. But if there's anything I have to criticize, it's this. Of the issues they have to deal with, the chemical leak outside came off the worst. Slight spoiler ahead, mind you, so skip to this time if you'd rather read it for yourself. The chemical spill was meant to force the kids to seclude themselves inside, and it works to that effect, but the issue lies within its mechanics. It's an airborne, and simultaneously waterborne, chemical that specifically attacks blood type, causing different effects for each. Type A blood causes blisters to appear on one's skin, Type AB induces paranoia, Type B gives the host impotency, possibly permanently, and Type O causes a person to go completely berserk and attack others around them. On more than one occasion, the 14 kids suffered casualties from one another because of the Type O's among them, which creates a slight stigma among the group. Having one or maybe two of these effects could be understandable, but having such wildly differing effects based on something as subtle as blood type really took me out of the moment. It really comes off as plot convenience more than anything else. There's a veritable Armageddon raging outside the store, and this is the thing that breaks my suspension of disbelief. What does that tell you? Monument 14 is a story about human nature and survival. It has great characters, ever-continuing disasters to keep your interest piqued, and a smooth, easygoing writing style that makes getting into the main character's head second nature. Word on the street is that they're turning it into a movie as well, but with such a young cast necessary, I have my doubts. Still, I could be wrong. Either way, it could easily be featured on The Book Was Better one day. Overall, Monument 14 is definitely a page-turner. Well worth the read. But those are just my thoughts. Have you read the book? What did you think? If not, do you want to read it now? Comment below and stay tuned for more.